What's up, lore masters? After a lot of requests, I've decided to do a breakdown of the various Star Trek Starfighters. But, I'll be honest, Starfighters were never something major for the writers of Trek. Roddenberry even thought they were stupid because of how space worked. Instead, the writers created a universe where it would be hard for Starfighters to thrive and then ultimately only use them so sparingly, and even inconsistently. Needless to say, this can make the conversation lackluster. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss why I don't think they work, and we'll have the breakdown shortly after this. Let's just get into it. In the universe of Star Trek, Starfighters make little to no sense beginning from at least the mid to late 23rd century. The advancements in capital ship technology, especially considering the tactical abilities, generally make the use of Starfighters a suicide job. Weapon systems were pinpoint accurate as early as the original series era. This can be seen in the original series episode The Changeling. A Constitution-class starship hits an object that is about 1 meter in length, from 90,000 kilometers away. We also know from what we see in The Next Generation in Deep Space Nine that outside of plot armor, Starfighters don't have powerful shields, not even enough to withstand that of a photon torpedo. Additionally, we generally see Starfighters in use by organizations that aren't capable of fielding anything larger, either due to lack of manpower or due to being terrorist organizations. In fact, Starfleet presumably never uses Starfighters until their back is against the wall and they are about to lose everything. Let's analyze the use of Starfighters specifically. The first time we really see their widespread use is in the 24th century during the Next Generation era. Starfighters were fielded by the Maquis fighting the Cardassian Union. During this time, we see limited engagements with the Maquis generally attacking either transports or isolated Cardassian warships. From what I can gather, it really seems that the Maquis had finite success against the Cardassians. This is due to the relative subpar technology of the Cardassians and the inability of the Union to adapt to terrorist tactics. Definitively, Cardassian technology was inferior compared to that of the Federation. In fact, when the Maquis came into conflict with Starfleet assets, the Maquis would generally have to retreat or were summarily defeated. Though I will go ahead and note that some variants of the Peregrine class, which is what the Maquis used, had the upgraded plot armor that prevented a Galaxy-class starship from defeating them. This seemed to be a rare upgrade, however, and generally only had a one-time use ability before the armor would be shed and the Galaxy-class starship could actually win. But again, when we take a look at the design of starships and tactical technology, the utilization of Starfighters is simply infeasible. During the 23rd century, a Constitution-class starship could take out an entire continent within minutes of utilizing its weapons. And then you add to the fact that it has the accuracy I mentioned before, and, well, we're done. During the 24th century, the Federation would innovate phaser technology and create phaser arrays, a much more powerful form of phaser. To quote a fan of the channel, with the invention of the warp core and the power that it can generate, once you've got that power and you route it to phasers, to control a ship is to basically be a minor god. I will say this though, the precision of the weapon systems does seem to be contingent on those they are fighting. Generally, the weapon systems are precise and rarely miss. There are times when the phasers miss though, and I've found this connected with the plot armor that the other ship might have. Snark aside, interestingly, the more ships that you have in combat, the less accurate the phasers become. Though, they are still devastatingly on point generally. As stated, Starfighters are utilized by underdogs and entities that cannot afford larger ships. We see this with the Maquis, the Bajoran Resistance, Bajor, and others. However, many Starfighter apologists will comment on the fact that during the Dominion War, Starfleet utilized Starfighters. So let's address this. During the time we see wide use of Starfighters, the United Federation of Planets was getting absolutely slaughtered and utilizing everything they had to ultimately sacrifice Starfleet officers as literal meat shields in a distant hope of stopping the tide of the conquering Dominion. The best example of this is during the battle portrayed in Sacrifice of Angels. For a complete breakdown of this battle, check it out in the top right-hand corner. Now don't worry, I'll be redoing all of those breakdowns in 2019, but for now, take a look at what I have. So, focusing on the Federation assault fighters specifically, we can see how dangerous it was to be a pilot in one of these things. When you rewatch that battle, it only took 1 or 2 hits from a Cardassian starship and you were destroyed. The fighters additionally could not do enough damage to cause major problems for the Dominion forces. They were just attempting to annoy them enough to pull them out of position. In fact, in that very battle, and most of the Dominion War, the replacement for fighters was the Miranda and Defiant classes. Given how space works and that starships can go everywhere you want them to go, the only thing that would make sense to fight larger capital ships would be those designed like that of the Defiant. Again, hell, look at the battle. Mirandas literally work like starfighters. I will say that I can see the tactical advantage of starfighters during ground engagements and at a planetary level. Unfortunately, we really don't get a sense of this type of battle technique during the Dominion War. There are some limited use of starfighters in the Delta Quadrant as well, but again, they are far weaker and have trouble standing up to larger and more advanced ships. We do see some success with starfighter-like tactics with the use of runabouts, but I'd argue that while runabouts are definitively not full-on starships, they aren't starfighters either. They seem to fall somewhere in the middle. Coming up soon, I'll be doing a full-on breakdown of the various starfighters in Trek, so stay tuned for that. While I do like starfighters, I don't think they really have a use in the Prime universe. If they do, it's severely limited. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Today's video was brought to you by the Lore Reloaded hoodie. Hey, is it freaking cold where you are? Consider keeping warm in a swaggy new hoodie. If it's not cold, check out the t-shirt version. There hasn't been a scientific study that doesn't say you won't get the person of your dreams if you're wearing one of these. Want to take being a lore master to the next level? Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/lore reloaded. It helps out more than you think. And as always, guys, remember, ultimately, we're all just stories in the end. Make yours a good one.